no more free emotional labor. If you're doing your work and you're carrying your load, and they're doing their work and they're carrying their load, and you're equally putting in the effort and working on actually changing yourself, yes, help each other, be there for each other, carry each other's load, because you're already carrying your own, right? You're not asking someone to do work for you. But people in your life who are not carrying their share and then asking you to do additional, say no. Like, have boundaries, have love for yourself, because you deserve someone who's going to add value to your life, to add joy, to add positives, to not drag you down. You deserve someone who's going to help you lighten your load, and you want to reciprocate that energy and help them lighten theirs, so you can live more free, more authentic, and happier. If those exchanges aren't mutual, look at what you think you're getting from this connection, or if it's a pattern, a habit, if this is like, are you just doing it out of, like, it's bonding. It's, oh, we've had X amount of time together. But how do you actually feel? If you look at interactions with all these people in your life, how do they actually make you feel? What are the content of those times that you spent? What is the energy you leave feeling with? Are they people who add to your plate or take from your plate or share loads with you? Is it back and forth, but they're asking for more from you without asking for that of themselves? Like, the only reason I feel so comfortable, I don't ask for help as much, honestly, but when I do, I feel comfortable because, well, I've grown to learn to be comfortable, because it really wasn't something I felt comfortable doing, because I know that I'm doing my lion's share. Like, I'm not asking anyone to come in and fix anything for me or carry my load, or even, it's like even the smallest things, like asking people to find things out for you. Find out for yourself. You need to learn things for yourself. You can't ask someone else to teach you what they've learned in years and years and years. You need to go do that work that they did to learn those things. And again, if someone's doing that and you're like, oh, I remember that part, and you're offering them clarity because they're carrying their lion's share, like, that is enjoyable exchange. But when it's, I want to say when it's a facade or performative, or even, again, right, because people like the idea of being someone who cares or being someone who's conscious, but it's actually quite exhausting and quite laborsome to be someone who cares, or to try to expand every time I'm faced with something I don't know or understand, to try to challenge myself to deepen my compassion and empathy and actually seek understanding. That takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of emotional work, right? So for someone to just show up and expect you to do it for them, or explain it for them, or make it easier for them, that's not fair. That's not okay. If it's someone who's genuinely trying and they are carrying their load and they're not quite getting it and they want help, that's a different thing. Like, by all means, help them. But again, that's that thing about understanding alignment. Like, when you're no longer coming from a space of desire or codependency or seeking an agenda, right? Even if my agenda is like world peace and all beings being happy, I can't do that in a way that's like a dictator, or what's that word? Like, I can't be controlling, right? Like, you need to be this, but it's like understanding, I understand my intention and also the work that is involved and the way I want to live. And there's ways you can challenge those things and put that energy out and contribute to it. And there's other ways you can't, that are just reasonable. Being able to be mentally and emotionally mature enough to understand nuance, to understand like what can and can't be done, to understand what solidarity is, to understand, like, we are not an island, right? And that sense of isolation that human beings feel is something that we have to challenge if we want to transcend the challenges we're having individually that can be solved in a collective way. Things like that, like, I'm getting worked up, but it's like this thing too with, like, there's a movement happening where men are now being held more accountable because women have done so much work that men are not carrying their load, just as one example, right? And this is an opportunity again to take on that work and dig in and get curious and teach yourself. Same thing with, like, race issues going on. Dig in, do that work, and teach yourself, instead of defending your ignorance or your laziness. The people who don't benefit or aren't able to absolve themselves from the struggles that you're able to absolve themselves from don't owe you their labor and you understanding what's going on and why they're oppressed, or why they're having a hard time, or why they're struggling. And intersectionality is important because if you don't have solidarity with all people and understand that all suffering is something for all of us to care about, then it becomes a virtue or victim war of, well, I'm more victimized than you are. That's not the point. The point is to stop the victimization in general, in all the ways that it doesn't need to be in our society, and care about what matters to other people, care about what matters to us, because I can't value myself and honor my rights if I violate yours. How can I affirm my rights if I'm violating yours? By violating your rights, I'm now violating my own, because I can't say that what matters to me is important if I'm saying what matters to you is not important, because there's no hierarchy there. We're human beings, and some people have been very conditioned or brainwashed or indoctrinated into ways of thinking without ever examining those ways of thinking or ways of existing. And we're in this precipice time in terms of like karmic energy for us to collectively like do shadow work or shed these lesser expressions as human beings collectively on this planet. As the Schumann resonance raises, as consciousness raises, that pressure, I think I did a video, but I might have deleted it. It was from my other TikTok account, where the pressure raises, where everything that's getting sorted gets compressed and everything that's left has to be broken down and digested and sorted into energy, or there's going to be, right? Because it's like two magnets. You can't, I'll give you a visual example, because everything follows the same rules, right? The energy of the magnet, as it gets closer and propels, right, it starts to shift. It can't manage, and then it has to line up. That's just the way the energy works. So that the question is how long we choose to stay in this repelling stage as beings. Like, look, the magnets don't even want to fight the pull. As consciousness is raising, it's that same thing where that energy has to line up and then be in harmony. So I know it's really chaotic right now and like triggering, but again, we have to come back to oneness and solidarity, because we don't exist in isolation. We don't exist in isolation. And it's hard for me to say that because I don't have as much discord in my family, for example, even my immediate community. Most people, I live in California, most people are progressive and liberal, or, they have a care for humanity and human rights. But as all of this stuff goes on, it's really important that we question what it is we're valuing, what it is we are defending, what it is we're protecting. If we are being, again, because you can't do shadow work all the time. You're not going to be able to, like, you're not going to overnight be like, I am now an earth being, and you're going to come out like a fairy and completely in harmony with the earth. There's only so much you have control over. But there are things that we can collectively change. But the thing that is free, so the point I'm getting to is, it costs nothing for you to believe and create space for beings in your mind, in your energy. I'm not saying you need to go devote your entire life to them, but even just within your energy, if you can challenge that resistance in you, that when you're faced with something that, again, because a lot of times when people are faced with that, then they look at it like, oh, well, that doesn't happen to me, and now I feel guilty and shameful because I'm not experiencing that. And instead of being empathetic and lining up like these magnets, they push against it and they start showing the nastiest sides of themselves. Again, that energy brings forth it's like if you have sand and water and it mucks up all the sand, and instead of letting those particles sort themselves, they keep churning the sand. It's like they keep staying in this repellent stage instead of looking and saying, like, that, how would that feel? That wouldn't feel great. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. What can I do to challenge that within myself to not perpetuate that energy, right? Because collectively we have this overall energy pool. So again, even if you're not doing things in the 3D reality, you can challenge yourself in your own energy and within yourself to be a better version of yourself, to be a more open, inclusive version of yourself, to exist in solidarity, to be connected to oneness. You don't have to understand everything to offer that